Hey guys, right now the world around us is completely changing. The world feels very uncertain. There's a lot happening in the Middle East. As we're speaking right now, energy prices, fuel prices, diesel, jet fuel, a lot of that is restricted because of what's happening in the Middle East. As a result of it, inflation is rising as expected. And on the back of inflation rising, we are expecting interest rates to also rise. And of course, what's happening in the Middle East is not something that we all thought was going to be part of our lives day to day, but it's becoming part of our lives day to day because of our pockets. We are feeling it with the cost of living rising. So today we want to just unpack generally how should we approach this, right?
Exactly. And we're not, we don't want you to be fearful about this. This is more just to be prepared and aware. And, these are some things that we're doing and certain things that you might want to consider doing also, just to be prepared and also financially strong and resilient.
Yeah, man. Think of this as your 10-point plan. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we're going to be sharing 10 things that we're doing as well as considering, like you said.
Exactly. Yeah. And before we start, we just want to use this opportunity to say massive thank you to every single one of our subscribers and followers who helped us to become a Sunday Times bestseller. Yeah. We absolutely could not have done it without you guys, our wider community. And we're so grateful to you guys for just all rallying around and making it become a reality. Much love to you guys.
Yeah, man. And I hope you guys are enjoying today's video. If you are enjoying this video, we want you to get involved with it. Take a moment to comment below and tell us, what are you most worried about right now with all that's happening? Is it the pressure on your pockets with the cost of living? Is it your energy costs? Is it your car costs? Is it your holidays, for example, which is disrupted right now? Comment below and let us know what you are thinking. But without much time wasted, let's jump straight in, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
And first, this is your first time coming on.
It is, outdoors.
Coming outdoors.
Oh, thank you for inviting me to your outdoor appearances, babe.
Well, look, let's have fun making this video, right? Yeah. So we're going to talk about 10 things. So the very first thing we want to talk about, first of all, is about mortgages. So a lot of us, naturally, are with mortgages. Obviously, people are renting, but I want to speak directly to people who have mortgages because for a lot of people, this year is a very significant year. Many people in 2021 took out 5-year deals that are expiring this year. Many people in 2024 took out 2-year deals that are expiring this year. And of course, the research shows that there are around 1.8 million people in the UK with deals expiring. In fact, on average, you should expect an increase of around, and this is shocking, £395 increase on your mortgage if your deal is expiring this year. And that, of course, is a big deal for people because it will affect people's household finances because people might not be ready for it. Even though you could argue a lot of people have had savings over the years, right? Yeah. So the research shows right now that a 2-year fixed rate is around 5.2% and a 5-year fixed rate is around 4.8%. So our thoughts right now, if you've got a mortgage, is that you should certainly think about considering certainty in your finances, that predictability, right? So try it where you can to get a fixed rate mortgage. If we had to make that decision ourselves, what would we lean into, a 2-year or 5-year fixed deal?
5-year.
Okay, we'll lean definitely into a 5-year fixed deal. But of course, please do your own research and make a decision that works for you and your finances. What's our second point?
Okay, so the second point is intergenerational living and family planning. Now, this is something that certain communities like the Asians, the Indians and the Pakistanis are actually used to doing. It's basically essentially where you might live with your siblings or your parents or your grandparents or all of those or a combination of those things. And what that means for you is that you can share, childcare costs, bills and responsibilities. And, day to day that might look like a savings, obviously, in your bills. You've also got support from your family. You have more money circulating within your community, and also just that general support that you have, that you wouldn't have otherwise if you lived at home by yourself, for example, and had to worry about the bills.
So basically what you're saying is oh, that's okay. What you're saying basically is instead of maybe having maybe 4 or 5 people paying 4 different rents or mortgages, you're saying get into one house, where you can, if possible, get all the bills where you can into one household and maybe rent out the properties that people might have.
Exactly. And, you know, for some people that might seem uncomfortable for them, but see it as a season to help you maybe build a buffer, build up a strong savings fund or emergency fund, you know, and, you know, see how it goes. You might actually even enjoy doing it. But I think certain people have to just think about it not as you're moving backwards, but you're actually being proactive in preparing for any eventualities.
And I think this is more of a medium term to a longer term thing, right? So we're not saying this is what you need to do overnight, but certainly we see a lot of the way the future is going, this is going to become more of a thing. This intergenerational living is going to be a way in which people are going to not only have community, right, but also save money, right? Let us know what you guys think in the comment section about that, right? And just to say, it's very windy today. It's like, what is it, Hurricane Dave or something? We chose the worst day to come out. But you know what? We're not letting Hurricane Dave stop us, right? We're just out here having fun.
Absolutely.
Right, okay. Our third point is to build a skills network, okay? Think of this as a resilience circle. This is a really important one. Imagine you've got 5 to 6 people, but each person has a particular skill set. One person could be an electrician. One person might be a builder. One person could be good with their finances. See what I'm saying there? One person could be a legal person, like a lawyer, and so on, and so on, and so on, right? You get the point. But the idea here is that there will be a need for us more than ever in difficult times, which we seem to be heading into in the UK and beyond, to lean on other people to be able to support us in times of emergency. So basically, community will become more of a currency in difficult times ahead. What's our next point?
Okay, so the next one is to grow your own food, even if it's a little. Now, we're not here talking about growing a farm. It could be something as simple as, you know, starting small, growing herbs on your balcony, or, you know, growing fruits and vegetables in your garden. And for some people who might be lacking space, you know, Google vertical growing, for example, or ways that you can grow in fruits and vegetables in your apartment. And, you know, with changing, you know, weather patterns, the weather, you know, the rising cost of food, this means that you can have more control, be less reliant, and also, you know, just build a useful skill whilst you're at it.
Yeah, and I think this is actually quite a good thing. It's getting us out of our sofas, basically, and getting us into that mode of planting, watching things grow, but also building a bit more independence as well.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, number 5 is to build a resilience fund and insurance cover. Now, this is a really important one. Think about where we're heading at the moment, with a lot happening in the world, where a lot of people feeling that things are getting worse because of what's happening around the world with current events being in the Middle East. We will need access to money more than ever, right? So I'm talking here your emergency fund, so your 3 to 6 months or beyond that, ideally, right? In addition to that, and the point with the emergency fund is, what if you lost your job? What if your partner lost their job? What if you both lost your job at the same time? This has happened to people. The next point here is also about insurance. Now, this is so key because a lot of people have a lot of insurance gaps in their lives right now. So the question we're asking is, if you lost your job right now, do you have income protection? Do you have some way to be able to keep up being able to pay those bills? If you've got a boiler at home and that breaks down, do you have some kind of repair insurance in place to make sure you're not left you know, cold or in a situation? If you're somebody who's renting property, it might be a situation where your tenant might have lost their jobs or have problems. Do you have landlord insurance in place to make sure that you're able to keep things going? Think about what's happening with travel, restrictions or shortages when it comes to jet fuel and so on. People going on holiday. Do you have a solid travel insurance policy? What if you go on holiday and something goes down, your flights get cancelled, you can't come back for weeks, potentially? Are you ready for that event? So what we're saying here is, you want to be able to have as few financial shocks as possible. And one way of preparing for that is to make sure you're plugging the gaps when it comes to insurance in your household.
Do an audit.
Right, what's our next point?
So the next one is to do a lifestyle audit. So here we're saying this is one of the most powerful things that you guys can look at right now. So you want to be looking at subscriptions, fixed bills, spending habits, and you want to ask yourself, you know, is this helping you to build the life that you want, or is it taking you further back, or is it just a habit? So what you're doing is you're not cutting out for the sake of it. You're realigning and focusing on the purchases that helps you to achieve your financial goals.
I'll just
any fixed costs, look at those. Any unnecessary spending, look at those. What are those things that you can shave off?
Yeah, when we were coming here, actually, I was saying to you how, even stuff with cars, some families might have 2 cars, for example.
Yeah.
In this season where diesel prices are stupidly expensive, I would go as far as saying cut down to 1 car. Stop using 1 car. Do as few unnecessary drives or trips as you can, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I just think this sort of stuff will become ever more important as we enter quite difficult times. But generally speaking, where things are fixed and you're locked into things, try and building some flexibility where you can. If it's something that you want to be able to let go as much as you can. But this is a really, really critical one. I actually think a lot of people will shave off a big part of their expenses from really looking at their lifestyle and making some wise decisions around it.
Hard decisions, yeah.
All right, tip number 7 or point number 7 is keep on investing, but do it quite thoughtfully, right?
Yeah.
So at the moment, there's a lot of uncertainty with regards to markets, right? So the stock market's down, a lot of people are panicking, people are very fearful, and I get it, right? When your investments are down, you're like, oh, I'm worried about it, and I'm panic selling. Do not panic sell, okay? The point here is for the people who are ready, right? They know in this time, this is a time where investments are cheaper, right? They are buying in, thinking of it as I'm buying on a sale, basically, right? But they're prepared for these moments. There are people who, when the stock market's full, they're rubbing their hands. They're literally, for them, it's a time where they're like, yep, I'm getting in there and I'm buying my units cheaper. So if you are already investing monthly and you've already got your emergency stuff put aside, keep that monthly investment going, because that's making sure that you are investing and your dollar cost averaging at different prices. Yeah, that's one thing. Now, the alternative thing to mention is that now is a good time to be quite defensive when it comes to your investments, right? So you also want to make sure you're really well diversified with your investments. Think quite globally, consider other assets that will help you fight an inflationary environment, right? So think beyond just your normal investments, but think in other types of asset classes. We cover these extensively in our new book, The Wealth Habit. Because we don't want to waste too much time on this point, we'd say please check out chapter 13 in the new book, The Wealth Habit. It's called The Effortless Investing Habit. We'll link to it below as well as above. Head over and check it out and obviously read it and begin to action the points in there. But the point is very simple. Generally speaking, keep investing your money, do it thoughtfully, make sure you stay diversified, and do it based on the goals you have for the future. Yeah?
Good. The next one is to stock up on essentials. Now, when I say that, guys, I don't mean to panic here. Just be prepared. So dried goods like rice, pulses, lentils, pastas, water, and household basics. And the key here is just that, you just want to have these things aside as a buffer, not out of fear. But, if you think back to 2020 during the pandemic, how people were panic buying, you don't want to be doing that. Just slowly build things up, just as preparation, because you never know.
Yeah, I agree with this one. You're very good at this in that you're always like, we need to buy extra this, extra that, extra that. And I see the wisdom in that. So I think that's really, really good advice. The next point, I'd say number 9, is to make debt freedom a priority. So obviously you will know this, but it's worth mentioning. In a obviously a rising interest rate environment, people who have expensive debts are much more susceptible, even if I can say the word, to rates rising, right? And also people who are over leveraged will be struggling right now or panicking. So you want to really focus here on those expensive debts, your credit cards, your bits that are way beyond your mortgage rate that you typically pay. And of course, again, speaking to debt freedom, some people might be asking themselves, should I still be overpaying my mortgage at this time? We would say if you are somebody who's put aside your emergency fund and that sort of thing, you've got extra money left over, overpaying your mortgage in this time gives you a guaranteed return, particularly if the mortgage rate you've got is fairly high. So I'm talking here like above 4%, for example. You will get yourself a guaranteed return, but do not put everything into one basket. Don't put everything just into your home. Make sure, like we said earlier, that you are also investing in other areas. For example, in the stock market, or using money to create other opportunities, which we're going to speak to shortly in point number 10.
And I think that's the point you made about, again, the 2 cars, an example. I think people want to make new debt less of a priority and to avoid any new debt as much as possible, whatever that might look like for you in your personal lives. So number 10 is to diversify your income. And this one is no longer optional. We always talk about diversifying, having multiple streams of income, but now more so than ever, you want to be looking at different ways that you can actually earn an income outside of maybe your 9 to 5. Ask yourself, is there any other way that you can earn money? Could you build something on the side whilst you're still in your 9 to 5 that obviously doesn't conflict with what you're currently doing at work? And this is where our community, like Financial Joy Academy, comes into it. We help people who we call our dream makers to level up in their careers, or if they wanted to start an online business or go into property, or even investing in the stock market, where we guide you through coaching calls, daily lunchtime clubs, and also masterminds and masterclasses. And if you're interested, if that's something that you've been thinking about, you can check us at Financial Joy Academy.
We'll link below and above. Definitely head over. If you want to chat to Mary and I daily to work on all these topics inside of Financial Joy Academy, we do so every day, 1 p.m. UK time. You can join, we can catch up, we can learn together, build community, build accountability. All those things are there. So feel free, check it out, and you will not regret doing it. But we've got a bonus point, right? And this is very important. And this is to put all these matters into prayer. Okay, because at a time where there's a lot of uncertainty, people panic, they worry, it affects their mental health, it affects their well-being more generally. So what we're saying here is that for us as a couple, prayer is a big part of what brings a lot of peace to us. It's a big part of what gives us wisdom to operate in uncertain times. Is a big part of what helps to give us discernment, especially when people are panicking, right? You need discernment to know how to act in the times. And I'm going to make a separate video about this, because in times like these, we need the Josephs, right? And I'm going to make a whole different video about this, but we need the people who are able to have the discernment to know what to do during times of famine, or times of difficulty, or times of uncertainty, and so on. So prayer is absolutely key in this time. And I get, like, a lot of people watching might not be people of faith, and they might not even do prayer as a thing. But we're going to keep it real with you guys. For us, prayer is the foundation, and without prayer, not very much happens. So we see that as a necessary aspect of what we need to operate in these times. Absolutely. And I want to just add one last point, which is that bear in mind, what we're seeing right now with the Middle East especially is not anything new. We've had wars upon wars upon wars over the many years. Most recently, the Ukraine war. This is almost like a repeating pattern over time. Every 2 or 3 years, you should expect effectively some kind of unrest, some kind of global war, some kind of thing that's happening. So in our book, The Wealth Habit, we call it Developing the Anti-Fragile Money Mindset. Chapter 19 of the book will help you to start to operate from a place where you expect a future of wars, but better than that, you are prepared for it. So another reason to check out The Wealth Habit. But you're going to say something.
I like the point about prayer. Very important, to pray, to have faith, but then to also have action. Some people, when they're fearful, they're almost paralyzed. But the people who come out of situations like this on top are not the people who do nothing and panic, but they're people who prepare and they're proactive. So, this isn't about fear, like we've said. It's about being prepared, proactive, and also positioned.
Beyond that,
that's it. Beyond that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. We hope that you found it useful. We've had to, deal with a lot of the elements, the wind, the sun.
The sun, it's nice. It's nice. We're doing it together.
There's no rain. I know. We do. But we hope you guys found this useful. Let us know in the comments what you're currently doing yourselves in these situations to make sure that you're being financially resilient in these times. And other than that, guys,
check out this next video over here. It's titled, Your Biggest Wealth Risk Isn't Market Crashes. Woo! I think you're going to love it. Head over, check it out, and we'll speak to you guys soon. Much love. Take care, guys. And as always, in all things, be thankful and seek joy.
Take care, guys. Bye.